Good morning, my friend, and I want to begin with something that most people over 60 have never been told clearly. The reason your skin may suddenly look looser, thinner, and more wrinkled is not always because you need a stronger cream. Very often, it is because aging skin loses the natural oils that used to keep it flexible, cushioned, and quietly lifted from within. And there is one oil, a simple oil, that many people pass right by in the store without realizing that it may be one of the most effective natural supports for mature skin. Before we begin, please subscribe to this channel so you never miss simple, science-backed tips that help you age confidently. Now, the oil we are talking about today is rosehip seed oil, and I need to be careful with how I say this because I do not want to overpromise anything. This is not Botox in a bottle. It is not a miracle overnight eraser. But for aging skin, especially dry, thinning, sun-stressed skin after 60, rosehip seed oil can do something extremely important. It can help refill what your skin is missing, support a softer look to lines, improve the feeling of firmness, and help the surface of your skin look smoother much faster than most people expect. What shocked me when I started reviewing the research and the dermatologist's commentary around this ingredient is that the tightening effect many people notice first is not really magic at all. It is biology. Mature skin loses lipids, loses water more easily, and turns over more slowly. So when you finally give it an oil rich in the kinds of fatty acids and antioxidants it actually recognizes, your skin can look calmer, fuller, and less folded in a surprisingly short amount of time. That is why some people think they suddenly found a secret when really they finally supported the barrier. And there is another reason this matters so much after 60, and I want you to hear this deeply. Many anti-aging ingredients are powerful, but they can also be irritating. Mature skin often becomes drier, more reactive, and less forgiving than it was at 35 or 45. So if you try something too harsh, you may end up with more redness, more flaking, and more visible texture than you started with. Rosehip seed oil sits in that interesting middle ground where it can support the skin, soften the appearance of aging, and feel nourishing without being as aggressive as the things everyone else talks about. Before we go further, I would love to know something about you because it helps me shape these videos for real people and not just for the internet. Drop your age in the comments below and tell me the one area where your skin has changed the most. Is it the cheeks, the jawline, the neck, around the mouth, or maybe the skin under the eyes? I read those comments and they matter to me. This channel is not about chasing perfection. It is about helping you feel informed, encouraged, and more confident in your own skin. So here is what I am going to do for you today, and stay with me because this gets more useful as we go on. I am going to walk you through exactly why rosehip seed oil can make mature skin look tighter and smoother, who gets the best results, the 3 biggest mistakes that ruin those results, and the one simple way to use it so it works with your skin instead of just sitting on top of it. And I will tell you right now, the biggest mistake people make with this oil is so common that it quietly cancels out half the benefit. Let us start with reason number 5, and this one is the fastest one you will notice sometimes within days. Rosehip seed oil helps reduce that dry, deflated look that makes wrinkles appear deeper than they really are. A great many wrinkles on mature skin do not look severe because the skin is damaged beyond repair. They look severe because the surface is dry, the barrier is disrupted, and light catches every little fold. When that surface is replenished, the lines often stop looking etched and start looking softer, less harsh, and less shadowed. Think of a raisin and a grape for a moment, because the visual explains almost everything. The raisin is not just older, it is drier, it has lost fullness. That is exactly what happens to skin when it loses water and lipids day after day over the course of years. Rosehip seed oil is rich in fatty acids that help support the skin barrier, and when the barrier improves, the skin can hold moisture better. Better moisture retention means the surface looks smoother. Smoother surface means wrinkles appear shallower, and that, for many people, is the first tightening effect they notice. Now, this is very important because a lot of viewers hear the word oil and immediately assume greasy. But the oils that help aging skin the most are not necessarily the heaviest ones. Rosehip seed oil is often described as a drier, lighter facial oil compared with thick oils that just sit on the surface. That matters. Mature skin needs nourishment, yes, but it also needs something it can tolerate and wear comfortably. If an oil feels suffocating, some people stop using it. If it absorbs more gracefully, consistency becomes much easier, and consistency is where real visible change starts. Here is the practical part for reason number 5, and please do not skip this. Never rub Rosehip oil onto a completely dry face and expect magic. Oil does not hydrate by itself. It helps seal and support. So after cleansing, or after applying a gentle hydrating serum, or even just a mist of water, press 2 or 3 drops into slightly damp skin. That small detail, more than almost anything else, changes the result. Dry skin plus oil can feel temporarily nice. Damp skin plus oil can look fuller, calmer, and much more supple by the next morning. Now let us move to reason number 4, and this is where Rosehip becomes more than just a moisturizer. Rosehip seed oil contains antioxidant compounds and naturally occurring components that help defend skin against the oxidative stress that accelerates visible aging. Oxidative stress is one of those invisible processes that quietly roughens texture, weakens collagen support, and deepens the tired look in mature skin over time. You may not feel it happening, but your skin shows it. That slightly dull, slightly fragile, slightly papery look so many people notice after 60 is often part of that picture. Imagine collagen and elastin like the springs inside an old sofa, because this makes it easier to understand. When those springs are strong, the surface above them looks lifted and resilient. When the springs weaken, the fabric begins to sag and crease. Antioxidant support helps protect those springs from further wear. Does Rosehip oil rebuild an entirely new face? No. But can it help create a better environment for aging skin by reducing stress on the surface and supporting smoother function? Yes, and that is exactly why it gets so much attention among people with mature, dry skin. This is also why Rosehip oil is often talked about as an anti-aging oil, but I want to be honest with your viewers in a way that builds trust. It is not a replacement for everything. It is not the same as prescription tretinoin. It is not as proven as sunscreen. And it is not going to overcome years of sun damage in 1 week. But what it can do, especially for someone who cannot tolerate harsher actives every night, is offer visible support without turning the routine into a battle. For a lot of seniors, that trade-off is extremely valuable. Reason number 3 is where things get genuinely exciting, because this is the part people feel but cannot always explain. In clinical observation, Rosehip-related skin interventions have been associated with improvements in wrinkle appearance, skin moisture, and elasticity over a matter of weeks. Elasticity is that bounce back quality that makes skin feel less slack and less fragile. After 60, that quality often declines dramatically. So when someone says, "My skin feels tighter," what they usually mean is not that it became hard. They mean it feels more supported, more springy, and less loose when they touch it. One of the details I found fascinating is that topical Rosehip oil has been used in testing in very small controlled amounts, not drenched all over the face the way people often do at home. Just a few drops used consistently can be enough. That tells you something powerful. Mature skin does not always need more product. It needs the right product used the right way. And that matters for your viewers because many of them, after years of buying creams and serums, have been trained to think more layers automatically mean better results. They often do not. Let me give you a real-world picture because sometimes stories make the science feel more personal. Imagine a 72-year-old woman named Barbara in Tucson, Arizona, who has spent years focusing on the deep lines around her mouth, convinced that only an expensive treatment could help. Then she begins using Rosehip oil correctly at night, over damp skin very lightly, and gives it 6 full weeks. She is not suddenly 40, but the tight paper look around her cheek softens, her skin feels less brittle, and the lines stop looking so sharply carved when light hits them from the side. That is how mature skin often improves. Not in a dramatic movie, scene transformation, but in a quieter sequence of changes that add up. First, the skin feels more comfortable. Then makeup sits better or you stop needing as much of it. Then the surface begins to look less thirsty. Then the folds around the mouth or at the outer corners of the eyes stop catching so much shadow. And one morning, Someone asks if you changed your skincare or if you have been sleeping better. Those are the moments that matter because they tell you the skin is behaving differently. Now here is reason number 2. And in my opinion, this is one of the most overlooked advantages of Rosehip oil for older adults. It works beautifully for the kind of aging skin that is not just wrinkled, but thin. Thin skin behaves differently. It loses water quickly. It reacts more easily. It can look almost translucent in certain lighting. And when thin skin becomes dry, every line becomes exaggerated. Rosehip oil helps by acting as a support layer that reduces that fragile, overexposed feeling. In other words, it does not just target wrinkles. It supports the skin around them. This is where many people use the wrong product entirely because they chase wrinkle fighting labels without asking what their skin is actually lacking. If your mature skin is dry, easily irritated, and beginning to look creepy, then the first mission is not to wage war on every line. It is to strengthen the surface so the lines stop looking worse than they are. Rosehip oil helps with that mission. It is a support strategy, not an attack strategy. And for aging skin, support often works better than aggression because supported skin simply looks younger than stressed skin. And I need to say this clearly because so many viewers will benefit from hearing it. The reason an oil can make skin appear tighter is not because it physically pulls the skin upward like a clamp. It is because when the barrier is healthier and the surface is better cushioned, the skin reflects light more evenly and folds look less abrupt. That is why a good oil can seem to work fast. The fast part is usually the surface improvement. The slower part, the more meaningful part, is what happens over weeks as the skin stays calmer and better supported. Now we come to reason number 1, and this is the heart of the whole topic. Rosehip seed oil may be especially helpful for mature skin because it answers one of aging skin's most basic problems, loss of natural replenishment. Younger skin often recovers quickly from dryness, irritation, weather changes, and over-cleansing. Older skin does not. By the time many people reach their 60s and 70s, the skin is no longer bouncing back on its own the way it used to. So when you give it consistent lipid support, the improvement can feel disproportionately impressive because the deficit was real. This is one reason younger people sometimes say, I tried a facial oil and did not notice much, while an older adult says, I cannot believe the difference. The older adult may have been dealing with a much bigger gap in barrier function to begin with. That means the right oil can produce a more visible contrast. Rosehip seed oil will not fix everything. But if the issue is mature skin that feels dull, tight, flaky, and increasingly lined, then giving that skin antioxidant, rich fatty acid support can create the kind of visible relief that feels almost surprising. If you are finding this helpful so far, let me pause for 1 second and ask you to do 2 small things. First, tap the like button because it helps this video reach more people over 60 who are overwhelmed by anti-aging claims. Second, if you have not subscribed yet, do that now so you do not miss the next video. And then tell me in the comments, have you ever tried Rosehip seed oil before, or are you hearing about it for the first time today? I always love seeing what people are already experimenting with. Now I want to shift gears because this next section may save your viewers from wasting money and getting disappointed. Let us talk about the 3 biggest mistakes people make with Rosehip seed oil. Mistake number 1 is using too much. More is not better here. In fact, too much oil can leave the skin looking shiny, heavy, and oddly less refined. It can also make people think the product is not absorbing when the truth is they used far beyond what mature facial skin needed. 2 to 3 drops is often enough for the whole face. When people over-apply facial oil, they often massage and massage, thinking they are helping it sink in. But excessive rubbing can be irritating, especially on thin, mature skin. The better approach is much gentler. Warm a tiny amount between the fingertips and press it into the skin rather than aggressively dragging it around. That pressing motion feels small, but it changes the experience. Mature skin tends to respond beautifully to routines that are supportive rather than forceful. Think less friction, less tugging, less heat, and much more patience and consistency. Mistake number 2 is applying it at the wrong time, which means either to bone, dry skin, or on top of too many harsh actives. If your face is completely dry, The oil may sit there beautifully and still fail to give you the plumping effect you wanted. If you pile it over a strong exfoliant, a retinoid, and 3 other treatments, you may end up blaming the oil for irritation that really came from the entire stack. Rosehip oil works best in a calm routine. Aging skin loves calm. It loves simplicity far more than marketing would ever admit. A very good evening routine for many older adults, especially those with dry skin, can be surprisingly simple. Gentle cleanser. Light hydrating layer if you use one, then Rosehip seed oil. Then, if needed, a moisturizer on top to seal everything in. That is it. Not 10 steps. Not 5 acids. Not a complicated schedule you will abandon after 4 nights. Just a routine simple enough to keep doing. Skincare is not won by the person with the busiest bathroom counter. It is won by the person who finds what their skin actually needs and keeps doing it. Mistake number 3 is buying the wrong kind of Rosehip oil because quality matters more here than many people realize. A fresh, properly stored oil behaves differently from an old, oxidized one that has been sitting in light and heat. Look for cold, pressed Rosehip seed oil in a dark bottle. That dark bottle is not decoration. It helps protect the oil from breaking down. And if you open it and it smells off sharp or unpleasant, do not force yourself to use it just because it was expensive. Aging skin does not need stale ingredients. It needs reliable ones. There is another mistake hidden inside that third one, and it is assuming that anything natural is automatically gentle for everyone. That is not true. Even a beautiful facial oil can irritate the wrong person. If someone has very sensitive skin, a history of fragrance reactions, or active facial eczema, they should patch test first. Put a small amount near the jawline or behind the ear for several days before using it widely. That one habit can prevent a lot of regret. Natural products can be helpful, but mature skin still deserves caution and respect. So who gets the best results from this oil and who may not love it? The people who often respond best are those with dry, mature, slightly crepey skin that feels more fragile than oily. They are the ones who look in the mirror and say, "My skin just seems tired now, it seems thinner, it seems thirsty all the time." That is a classic Rosehip oil person. Someone with very oily, breakout-prone, highly reactive skin might feel differently, especially if they are expecting it to function like a prescription anti-aging treatment. It is supportive, not magical, and that distinction matters. I also want to talk about speed because the title of a video like this naturally makes people wonder how fast is fast. Fast usually means the skin looks less dry and less crinkled within a few days to 1 week if the barrier was the main problem. That can happen. The deeper improvements, the ones people describe as firmer or smoother or more youthful, usually take longer. Think in terms of several weeks, not one dramatic evening. If someone expects instant wrinkle removal, they will miss the quieter but very real improvement happening on the surface. A useful way to explain this to your audience, especially if they like practical timelines, is this: night 1 through 3, the skin often feels more comfortable. Week 1, the face may look less dull and less papery. Week 3, many people notice their makeup settles better or they stop feeling tightness after washing. By week 5 to 8, if the product suits them and they have been consistent, they may begin noticing that fine lines do not appear as sharp and the skin feels more resilient when they touch it. That is the arc that makes sense. Let me share another picture that may resonate because this is what I hear from older adults again and again. Imagine a 68-year-old man named Robert in Wilmington, North Carolina, who never thought skin care was for him. He is not trying to look younger than he is. He just notices the skin around his temples and cheeks looking rougher, drier, more drawn. His daughter gives him a bottle of Rosehip seed oil and tells him to use 3 drops at night. He laughs at first. But after a month, he notices shaving feels easier and his skin stops looking so weathered. That kind of result matters because it changes more than the face, it changes willingness. Once someone sees that their skin can still respond after 65, after 70, after 75, they stop feeling written off. They stop seeing aging skin as a lost cause and start seeing it as skin that needs a different kind of support. That is a powerful shift. And honestly, it is one of the reasons I make videos like this. There are too many people walking around believing decline is the only story available to them when that simply is not true. Now, I do need to add one important truth, and this actually makes the advice more trustworthy. Rosehip seed oil works best when it is part of a bigger skin, respecting lifestyle. If someone uses the oil faithfully every night but cleanses with harsh products, skips moisturizer, and gets daily sun without protection, the results will be limited. Skin aging is never one thing. It is hydration, barrier health, inflammation, sun exposure, collagen loss, and daily habits all interacting together. One good oil can help, but it works best when the rest of the routine is not fighting against it. That means sunscreen still matters, perhaps more than anything else during the day. A gentle cleanser still matters. A moisturizer still matters. And if someone tolerates other proven anti-aging ingredients, those may still have a place. But Rosehip seed oil can be the comfort step, the replenishing step, the step that helps mature skin stay calm enough to benefit from everything else. A lot of people underestimate that role. Yet in older skin, the ability to remain comfortable and intact is often exactly what determines whether a routine succeeds or fails. So if I were to summarize the smartest way to use this oil, it would sound like this. Use a fresh, cold-pressed Rosehip seed oil in a dark bottle. Apply 2 or 3 drops at night to slightly damp skin. Press, do not rub. If your skin is especially dry, seal it with a gentle moisturizer. Patch test if you are sensitive. Give it time. And watch for the signs that matter most: less tightness, less papery texture, softer looking lines, a little more bounce, and that subtle but meaningful return of comfort to the face. And I want to leave your audience with this because I know how personal this topic can be. Wrinkles do not appear in a vacuum. They arrive with time, with stress, with weather, with life, with years of caregiving, work, worry, laughter, and survival. So this is not about erasing evidence that you have lived. It is about helping your skin feel stronger and look more cared for as you continue living. And if one humble oil can help you feel a little more comfortable, a little more confident, and a little more like yourself, again, that matters. You do not need to chase every trend, and you do not need a drawer full of expensive products to support mature skin intelligently. Sometimes the most noticeable improvement comes from solving the simplest problem first. Dry skin can look older than it is. Fragile skin can look more wrinkled than it is. Unsupported skin can look more tired than it is. When Rosehip seed oil works, that is what it is often doing. It is not creating a new face. It is helping your real face look less depleted, less stressed, and more alive. If this video helped you, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel before you go. And I would really love to hear from you in the comments. If you tried Rosehip seed oil for 30 days, where would you want to use it first? Your cheeks, your neck, around your mouth, or the fine lines near your eyes? Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take good care of yourself, be gentle with your skin, and I will see you in the next video.